So, you know, there was a song several years ago by Anne, I think it was Anne Murray. Sure could use a little good news today. Remember that song that she sang a few years ago? Well, it was probably many years ago. Just tells how old I am. And for young people out there who don't know that song, sorry. But I think we could use some good news today. Talking about today at church. What we have been going through, over this past year has been tough. I don't know. My neighbor went to, and people are feeling maybe oppression, depression, I don't know, a heavy weight, something that has come about because of all of the rules and restrictions, and obviously people are losing jobs in certain segments of our economy, like restaurant business. They're saying, like 1/3 of them will never recover because of the difficulties. My neighbor, so people are looking for a little good news, and people are looking for a break. So my neighbor went to actually reserve a spot out here at Lake Hawkins at the campground, and there were none available because people are getting out, and it was filled. And so he tried several other places, and they were full because people are, I guess you would say, tired and need a break. It is just been a difficult time. So today I want to talk about something that I love, and about a subject that I love, and I can't wait to get to heavenly Jerusalem, the New Jerusalem, the one that's mentioned in Revelation chapter 21. So today, let's go through scriptures that talk about heavenly Jerusalem. I also want to go back and because our future is in heavenly Jerusalem. Our home is in heavenly Jerusalem. That's where we will end up. That is what we're seeking, and that's what we're looking for. Over in 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 12, you don't have to turn there, I'm just going to reference it. It says, "For now we see through a glass darkly." And I know that's true, we do. There are things that we don't comprehend, things we don't fully understand. I will tell you that when I'm talking about heavenly Jerusalem today, it will never compare to what it will be like when we're finally there. But I want us to have some hope. And even though we see through a glass darkly, one of these days, we're going to be there, and we're going to see it face to face. It will be a time like I don't know. It's going to be the greatest time ever, when we're able to see our family and our friends and everybody that comes up in the resurrection. And it's going to be a great time. My mom told me this many, many years ago, referring to 1 Corinthians 2, verse 9, which says, "Eye has not seen, nor ear heard, neither has it entered into the heart of man, the things which God has prepared for them that love him." And she said to me, "Son, God has things prepared for you beyond your wildest imaginations." And I believe that for each and every one of us. God has things prepared for us beyond what we can even comprehend. It is going to be just amazing when we're in the kingdom. It is going to be amazing when we're spirit beings, when we have left off this flesh that waxes old and, has to have things done to it. Like I got to have cataract surgery this week because my eyes are old and they're getting bad. So I get to have that done this week. But there's going to be a time when, hey, we're given the new model. And wow, that is going to be amazing. I do pray this. I mentioned this earlier. When we think about heavenly Jerusalem and the great things that lie ahead for us in that city. And when I think about that, it brings to mind the model prayer in Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6. And I hope this is our goal. I hope this is what we aspire and look for and pray for, and are, like the horse out of the gate, wanting to get there, hoping that can't wait for the kingdom to get here. But it says in verse 9, "After this manner pray you, Our Father which is in heaven, hallowed be your name." I hope we pray that. And then the next verse, verse 10 says, thy kingdom come. Thy kingdom come. Well, that's, wow. Thy kingdom come. How great that will be. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. We don't live in that. We don't live in heaven. We don't live in heavenly Jerusalem yet. And we find here that what is done here is not God's will, because we know, again, that we have one who is the enemy, by the way, who walks about as a roaring lion, seeking to devour us, seeking to distract us, seeking us to get us so involved in this physical life and world that we forget about the greatest gift and the greatest blessing ahead, and that is the kingdom and heavenly Jerusalem, which lies ahead. That's what he wants. That's what he's after. That he wants to do that. He wants to distract us. And then Revelation, I think it's chapter 12, says that, well, I'm old, so I can't quote it, so I better read it. It says, woe to the this is chapter 12, verse 12, woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knows he has but a short time. Yea. He has but a short time, and his time will be over. Can you imagine a world without him, without his influence? Can you imagine what the Garden of Eden would have been like before chapter 3 when the serpent appeared? It was perfect. When we read Revelation chapter 21, after the 1,000 years, new heavens and a new earth, that's again perfect. And he won't be there. He won't be there to influence. His influence, his time will be over. It will be a done deal. And let's go to Revelation in chapter 21. Let's read those verses that to me are just incredibly inspiring. And then let's talk about this city. Verse 1 says, I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And if you can explain to me exactly what that means, then we'll both know. But we read those words, and I believe it. There will be a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth will pass away, and there will be no more sea. Whatever that is, however that applies. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. And he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And God himself shall be with them and be their God. And then verse 4, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death. This has been kind of a heavy time the last few weeks, with all the deaths that have taken place. Of course, it's always heavy. We've had so many that now sleep, and I'm happy that they rest and wait the resurrection. That's great. Can you imagine a time when there is no more death? When there is no suffering and pain from that? I think of Morris and family, and the suffering they're going through. I lost a college friend this past week, Mike Ford. And Kim lost a niece this past week. And we had Mr. Benedict's funeral, and there were funerals today. There's going to be a time when there's no more of that. No more death. Neither sorrow nor crying, and neither shall there be any more pain. Knee pain, back pain, heart pain, pain from whatever it would be, abuse. No more pain. It's going to be a marvelous time. It says, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. I can't even imagine that. All things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, it is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of the water of life freely. And he that overcomes shall inherit all things. And I will be his God, and he shall be my son. Okay, that's enough. I'm done. No, not really. Can you imagine that time, what that will be like? Truth's being said, we need to hear things like that. We need to read those kind of words right now. It's been tough. It's been a difficult time. Whether we recognize it or not, it's time for a little good news. And we need to be filled with hope. Hope of a great future. And never fear, God will see us through. We sang it. I love it. That was just perfect. God will see us through whatever comes. I believe that song. Whatever difficulties lie ahead, he will take care of us and he will lead us through. Did he not lead the children of Israel through a lot of difficulties? And can he not? Yes, he did. And he will lead us as well. I'm certainly tired of turmoil and strife and division. I'm tired of all of that and agony that's going on today. Frankly, I can't wait for what's ahead. I can't wait for what's ahead for you and for me. When that time comes, when he makes all things new. There will be a beautiful city that will be good for the soul. It's going to be an amazing time, an amazing thing, a golden city and a crystal city, and it's, descending out of heaven. Just imagine the blessings and the hope that will unfold to all mankind, to everybody that's ever lived, when that city descends out of heaven with God, when he brings it here. And it says, God will dwell with men. Have you ever thought about that? God dwelling with you, he'll dwell with us. We'll be his people. He'll be daddy. He'll be our God. And that will be marvelous. I can't wait for that. All things will be new. And New Jerusalem will be a city that will be eternally successful. How do we know that? Well, we read this in Daniel chapter 2. And, I'm going to fly through here. So Daniel 2:44, if you're just taking notes, says, "And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed." It will be a kingdom that exists for all eternity. "And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but shall break in pieces and consume all of these kingdoms, and it will stand forever. And in that kingdom will come heavenly Jerusalem, a city that will never be destroyed, a place for you and me." Actually, we are that city. We are those people that make up that city. We'll see about that too in just a bit. And we know Revelation 11:15, I won't go there, says that the kingdoms of this world will become the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ. And he shall reign forevermore, forever and ever. And Jesus Christ will rule and reign with his Father. We read this in Isaiah chapter 9 about him. Isaiah chapter 9. It says, unto us, verse 6, Isaiah 9:6, "Unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given." We know who that is, don't we? We all know who that is. Jesus Christ. "And the government shall be upon his shoulder." That's a good piece of information to know. Government will be on his shoulders, will be in the hands of Jesus Christ. "And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there will be no end upon the throne of David, upon his kingdom, to order it, to establish it with judgment and justice, henceforth and forever. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this." God will see us through. That is amazing. In New Jerusalem, everything will be at peace and under the full enjoyment of God's presence, and we'll be there as well. It will be a safe and happy city. I don't know about you, but I would look out here and say all of us like safety. It will be a safe and happy place. We don't like it when we're not safe. It's not something we enjoy. We want that safety. Jerusalem will be guided and ruled by God. Hey, sin will be banished. Satan will be banished. Are you ready for that? Are you looking forward to that time when there will be absolute supremacy by Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace? We read this too in Revelation chapter 21. Just speaking of the greatness of that city, chapter 21, I just want to read verse 27. It says, "There shall no wise enter in anything that defiles," into that city, "neither whatsoever works abomination or makes a lie." We know who the father of lies is, and those who lie are acting on his behalf. "But nothing that defiles, nothing that works abomination or that makes a lie, but they," maybe you say only they, "but those who are written in the Lamb's book of life, they are the ones that will enter that city." Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go? I'm ready. I do want to go to heavenly Jerusalem. I want to go to that city. I want to be with God. I think, for all of us, that's our whole purpose for living. It's what we're dedicated to. It's what our effort is. It's why we're able to endure the things that we're able to endure, because of the hope and what lies ahead in the future in heavenly Jerusalem with God. And we will be there forever with God. I know this, that our best memories are yet ahead of us. You think you have some good memories now? Just imagine what your memories will be when your eyes see the things that you see, when you see heavenly Jerusalem. So let's look at some scriptures today as we think about this, because I think all of us need to have our faith bolstered. We need to have hope. We need to, I believe, increase our understanding. And because with understanding and knowledge, that gives us faith and gives us hope. So hopefully we can look at some of these scriptures and be motivated to do those things. And, just pray that God stirs up our spirit in our efforts to make sure that we are there, because that would be incredibly important. But I want to do this today. I want to contrast two cities. Okay, I want to contrast two cities. One that we find in the book of Genesis and one that we find in the book of Revelation. In Genesis, we read about the first city. Okay? I want us to go there. Anybody remember what the name of the first city was? Just throwing that out there. Enoch. Yes, the city of Enoch. By the way, since that first city, all cities since have been built in the spirit of Cain. Okay? All cities have been built in the spirit of Cain. Maybe this was, worse. But let's go back, because we're going to read about this city which failed, and I hope it gives us, a good contrast between heavenly Jerusalem and Enoch, the first city. And I hope it gives us anticipation to someday being a resident of that heavenly Jerusalem. So the first city, Enoch, was built by Cain, and it was located in the land of Nod. Genesis 4, let's go there, Genesis 4. Now, we could read this whole chapter, because chapter 4 is about the story of Cain and Abel. And we do know and understand that Cain and Abel offered offerings, and Abel's was accepted and Cain's was not. And Cain was wroth. And what did he do? What did Cain do? He slew his brother. He slew his brother. Verse 8 says, Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and he slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Hey, Cain, where's Abel? Where's your brother? And he said, I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What have you done? That's what God said. What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries unto me from the ground. And he said unto Cain, he says, now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened up her mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you till the ground, it shall henceforth not henceforth yield unto you her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shall you be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, oh, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, you have driven me out of this day from the face of the earth, and from your face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that every one that finds me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slays Cain, vengeance shall be taken upon him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. And Cain, verse 17, knew his wife, and she conceived and bare a son, Enoch. And he builded a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. And unto Enoch was born, it says, starts naming the names of those of to whom he was born. So what we have is Enoch, the city, the first city built upon blood. Now you say, well, maybe that's a stretch, but here we have Cain driven out from God, and he goes and he has no communication, as far as I can see, has no communication with God, and has no rest because he was a vagabond, he was a stranger. He wanders, being continually restless and uneasy. And what did he do? He built a city. Build, build, build. Isn't it interesting that when we depart from God or are restricted from God, we get really wrapped up in what? Things. Things become important. Houses become important. Yards become important. Having money becomes important. Having the best hunting rifle becomes important. All these things, all these physical things, or jewelry, or whatever it is that becomes important. And, it just, because this is what was happening to Cain. He got wrapped up in those things. And he had forsaken God. He had disobeyed God. And now he builds a city. And the blood of his brother is in that city. And he's disobeyed, and he's become a fugitive. The spirit of Cain, because the Bible mentions that, and we're going to read that in a minute. The spirit of Cain was a spirit of unrighteousness. We'll see that. And ungodliness that manifested itself in various ways, especially injustice, obviously violence. And notice what it says over here, and we're done here in Genesis because I've covered enough there. Over in 1 John chapter 3, we find Cain mentioned in 1 John chapter 3, verse 11 and 12. Verse 11 says, for this is the message that you have heard from the beginning. Again, 1 John 3:11. This is the message that you've heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. Not as Cain, who was of that wicked one and slew his brother. How can you have much love if you kill your brother? Now, my younger brother and I, we always wanted to kill each other. Not literally. We had scuffles, we had toughs. But this was egregious. He hated his brother and he slew him. He killed him. He killed his brother. And not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. Why did he slay him? Because his own works were evil and his brother's righteous. So, something else is introduced there. Competition. Competition. He didn't want to be second best. He got mad. He got angry. And he yielded to the spirit called the spirit of Cain. He yielded really to Satan, didn't he? And he slew his brother. And he was driven out. And earthly things became a priority. He had to ignore, or he did ignore, spiritual things and divine because he was separated from God. Actually, what I see through that story is materialism became the substitute for God. Hey, that's the way it is for a lot of people. They bury themselves in materialism instead of the things of God. And it's a substitute for God. I grew up in California. California is an ungodly place. It was and has been for many years. We don't have churches on every corner. We don't have Christians. We have people, we don't need God. We can handle it ourselves. Man, that's bad. That's a bad way to be. But we have that kind of mentality. And in fact, I had cousins and an uncle who attempted to live a life totally independent of God. They didn't need God. How many, we've all known people like that. They were self-sufficient. We don't need God. I can handle it and I can do it. And so, hey, the spirit of Cain. And he killed his brother. How horrible is that? And frankly, Cain's selfishness has engendered weakness and wretchedness and peril. It would throw down, frankly, a dark cloud on humanity for a long time. What happened there in Genesis when he slew. The spirit of Cain was obviously that of ungodliness and unrighteousness. It was also the spirit of unbrotherliness. And the spirit of Cain is everywhere around us. And it's kind of prevalent, I believe it's prevalent today, the spirit of Cain, because you have the spirit of God and the things of God, and you've got the spirit of Cain, which is the spirit of this world, which is who's the God of this world. It's the spirit that comes from Satan. And that's what he succumbed to. And the first city was established not on right principles, and it was established after he'd murdered his brother. How horrible. And we read earlier in the earlier Bible study about why do we have strife and division, and when we have all of these things, then the anger and the envy, we know that that's not from God, but is earthly, sensual, and devilish. And that is when we consider the bad and the ugly and the distasteful causes of things that go on around us, we have, I think, a better appreciation when we understand that. We have a better appreciation of what lies ahead in the future, because we won't have those things. I wonder if God puts us through a lot of this so we'll finally be sick enough of it, we'll say, okay, God, we just want you. I hope so, because it's an awfully dark place to be when we're without God. And it's an awfully bad place to be when we are sinning and away from God. We could go, hey, I'm not going to do it, but I will just recommend that we read out of the book of Galatians, the works of the flesh versus the fruits of the Spirit. What a difference! What a difference those are. I'm telling you, the new heavenly Jerusalem will not have the spirit of Cain. It will have the fruits of God's Spirit. There will not be evil within the walls of that kingdom and of that city. What a grand work heavenly Jerusalem will be. The Spirit of God, the Spirit of Jesus Christ will be in the hearts of New Jerusalem residents. That's you and me. He says, I will walk in them and dwell in them. Actually, that's us. He will walk and dwell with us. There will be godly spirituality. There will be admiration and respect for God's laws, recognition of living God's ways and practicing his ways. There we will have the assurance of God's existence. He will be there with us. His government, his watchfulness, his equity, his faithfulness. The Spirit of Christ will be there. The spirit of brotherliness and brotherhood. Oh, and by the way, there will be red marks on the walls of that city too. The red marks because Christ laid down his life for you and me in a godly way. He laid down his life for us. And it tells us can we do anything less than to lay down our lives for one another? It will be a wonderful difference, a wonderful place, and I just can't wait to get there. I can't wait to be with God and with Christ. Christ's Spirit will inspire men. It will soften opposing, viewpoints and hostilities. It's going to be a great time and a great place. It does say, talking about that time, that our burdens will be lightened, our tears will be wiped away. He will make the rough places smooth, and the dark places light, and the crooked places straight. A lot of crooked things we can't fix right now, but He can, and He will. There will be, in that city, there won't be dust in the streets. We won't have dust. There won't be smoke in the air, and there won't be any smog. I remember as a kid sitting at the ranch there in California, and we'd be looking out towards Antelope Valley and Palmdale and Lancaster, which were up above, L.A., San Fernando, in that area, and we could see the smog creeping up. We could see that. But there won't be any of that. We won't have any smog. They've, since that time, there were a lot of emission regulations and things that have stopped a lot of that. But hey, there won't be any smog in heavenly Jerusalem. I know I'm going to say this from a physical standpoint, but I don't know how this translates into what it will be like when we're spirit beings, but just bear with me if you can, because when we have spaces everywhere, there'll be flowers. There'll be sunlight. There will be sky that's always pure. I know I'm speaking physically, but to me that's beautiful. Flowers, sunlight, and blue sky. I love those things. I love beautiful flowers. It's going to be great. It's going to be greater than anything we can imagine. Is it a physical city, or are we talking about something greater than that? Well, Revelation 21, here's something I want to throw out, just a thought. Chapter 21. Verse 22 says, "And I saw no temple there, for God Almighty, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. The city has no need of sun." Really? "Neither of the moon, nor to shine for it. For the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates will not be shut at all, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it." That's pretty amazing. New Jerusalem will far exceed any of the wild expectations I have. It'll be greater than I can even imagine. Oh, Jesus said, "In my Father's house are many abodes." We will have a place. He will have a place for you and for me. We will be part of what He's building, part of what He is accomplishing, part of what He's doing. I believe we should all be looking for a city. Hey, over in Hebrews 11, we read about Abraham. What was he looking for? Was he looking to live in the land of Media, for the rest of his life? No. We read this. Verse 8. "By faith, Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should afterwards receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God." Doesn't God tell us in Isaiah 66 that He doesn't dwell in temples made with hands? We read that, right? That's Isaiah 66, 1 and 2. What house can we build unto God? What would we build unto him? Well, I mean, we have recorded in the Bible patterns of temples and buildings built for God's honor and to teach us, something about something greater to come, which I believe is heavenly Jerusalem. But there was the first temple built, and it was built by Solomon. But before that, there was a tabernacle, a sanctuary in the wilderness that had specific, you can read about all the specific things about the tabernacle in the wilderness, the one that traveled with him. And, you read about those. But the first temple, we read, who wanted to build a temple? David wanted to build a temple unto God. But God said, no, you cannot build a temple because you are a, what? God called him a bloody man because of all the things that had happened. He says, but your son will build a temple. And Solomon, the first temple was built by Solomon. It's also known as Solomon's temple. And he built the first temple in Jerusalem as a monument to God and as a permanent home for the Ark of the Covenant. That's what he did. It was built atop the Temple Mount in ancient Jerusalem during what is known as the First Temple period. So, we're talking around 1000 BC to 586. And we know that it was destroyed. Remember, God's temple, when he sets up his kingdom and tabernacle, it will never be destroyed. But Solomon's temple was destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. And it was destroyed in 587, 586, when the Babylonian army came through there and attacked the city. And after an extended siege, they finally succeeded in breaching the city, the walls, and they burned the temple along with most of the city. That took place. And we know then that a second temple was built in around the 6th century by Jews who were returning from captivity from the Persian exile. We know that took place, and they were led by a couple of men that we're very familiar with. In fact, there's a couple of books in the Bible about them, Ezra and Nehemiah. Wonderful reads, wonderful stories about those that went back. And even Nehemiah wrote those who helped to build the wall and the temples. Those were important steps and important things that were done. And it stood on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem between around 561 BC, all the way to 70 AD, when Jerusalem was finally destroyed, when it was finally wiped out. And it was wiped out, we know, by the Roman Empire. They did that. They destroyed it. Jerusalem was sacked, and that was retaliation for Jewish revolt. But if you'd have lived in that day, we'd have probably been excited to look for the rebuilding of the temple, for the first one. Wow, what a wonderful read if you read 2 Chronicles 6, the dedication of the temple that Solomon has in his prayer of dedication. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. And, if we'd have been around and we'd have come back, just imagine coming back out of exile, we get to build Jerusalem again. We get to be a part of that, the city, because that would have been important. It's what God had wanted them to do. But that's, we're talking about what they did. We're physical cities. We're physical temples made with hands. We're not looking for that. We're not looking for that kind of a temple. We're looking for the temple whose builder and maker is God. We're looking for eternity with him in that city. Do you realize that you and I make up that temple? And that people make up the temple. And that people make up that city. And we read it. Ephesians 2. Just listen to this. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 19. Says, now therefore you are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God, and are built upon the foundations of the apostles and prophets, Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together grows unto a holy temple in the Lord, in whom you are builded together notice this, for a habitation of God through the Spirit. Now, I don't know about you, but that is pretty exciting that we are part of that. And God has some renovations. In fact, by the way, you and I, each of us have had renovations going on. He's been changing us. Renovations have been taking place. And we will have more before our lives are over, until we are acceptable building material and part of that temple. You know, 2 Corinthians 5 talks about that he will make all things new and things will become permanent. 2 Corinthians 6 says that we are the temple of the living God. 1 Peter 2 says that we are lively stones built up a spiritual house, a chosen generation. 1 Corinthians 12 says that we're one body. God has set the members, every one of them, as it pleases him. I want to think about that for just a second. Each of us are chosen by God. You are chosen by God. You are placed in the body as it pleases God. He puts you where he wants you. And I'm not talking about in this building. I'm talking about in the big picture. He has called you and he has things for you to do. You will have a place and a part in heavenly Jerusalem. That is incredible what he's done. He set every one of us in the body as it pleases him. Oh, and by the way, let's not diss anybody then, because if we do that, I mean, you know, we like to cut off arms and legs and throw people out, disfellowship people. Really? God is the one who sets them in the body. We ought to have respect unto what God is doing, because he knows better than any of us. Over here in Hebrews 12, well, I don't have time. I want you to read Hebrews 12, verse 22 and on. It says that you're coming to Mount Zion, unto the city of the living God, unto heavenly Jerusalem. And then he includes to the innumerable company of angels. This is what we're going to meet. We're going to be with them. And it says, to the church of the firstborn, which are written in heaven. And, you know, you can go back and read Psalms 87, which I wanted to do to conclude, but I'm not going to, which says, you know, walk about, check out the walls. Hey, take a tour. Don't you want to take a tour? I want to see everybody. I want to see what God is doing. I want to be a part of what he's doing. And, you know, Jesus will be there as the mediator of the new covenant. And I'm looking for the city of God. I want that to come. I want to join with all of you and all my brothers and sisters. And I want to join with my mom and my dad. You know, family. Hebrews 11 talks about those that are going to be there. Again, I would encourage you to read some of these verses of what people went through and endured so that they could be accounted worthy as they look for the city of God. It's amazing what they did. And we'll join with them and with all who are willing to be chosen as sojourners and be called sojourners, because we know we have no continuing city here. And I want to join with all of those in the city of God where the Spirit of Christ will be in the hearts of all the inhabitants. I want that, where there won't be the spirit of Cain and where there won't be the enemy. I want to be there where there will be peace and no enemy. I want to be there where we can praise and love and honor and worship God like Revelation 4. Read that, Revelation 4. Have you ever given any thought to what you will do when you praise God, when you're there? We have good examples. I mean, Revelation 4 is really good. You know, 24 elders cast their thrones down before him, and they have things to say to God. There's an innumerable company of angels that are there, and there's singing going on. There's going to be a presence that we have never seen before, and it will be just incredible. There will be the Spirit of Christ, as I said, in the spirit of brotherhood. There will be no more death, no more tears, no more sorrow, no more crying no more loneliness, and no more pain. And this is the best thing. All that we have here will be forgotten. I'm looking forward to forgetting. Looking forward to forgetting all this when we have the great things that are ahead for us. Vern, you can put down the screen now. New Jerusalem will be a wonderful difference. It will be a wonderful place, and I want to take a tour. And this is the last scripture I want to read, which is over here in Revelation chapter 3. It says, verse 12, "To him that overcomes will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out. And I will write upon him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, which is New Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from my God, and I will write upon him my new name." I'm looking forward to that. That's what I want. I think we need a little hope and a little good news, and this is the best news ever. It's my hope. I want to go to our new home where whether we recognize it or not, we need to hear these things. We need to hear good news. We need to be filled with, as I said, hope. I'm tired of this. I'm ready to forget it. I want heavenly Jerusalem and all that God has to offer for us, and in the place and in the blessing that he has for each of us. It will be a beautiful place. It will be a beautiful city. The kingdom will be a beautiful place. Our spirit bodies, which we have no clue, will be wonderful. It's going to be incredible. It will be a golden city, a crystal one, descending from God out of heaven. And to inherit a never-ending future with God that will surpass even my wildest dreams and expectations, I can't wait for it.